Hello, I'm Richard with EV4U Custom Conversions, and welcome to another installment on our electric VW transporter conversion. We're making progress, and we're going to share as much of it with you as we have the time to do so. We're always so busy, it's kind of hard to take these little breaks and catch you up. But anyway, we'll show you what we've done in the last couple days, and we hope that it's interesting for you. And so I'll get off camera and we'll show you what we've done. And as always, we appreciate your watching, and if you have any questions, email us at info@ev4unow.com. Thanks. So this is a quick view of the treasure chest area just prior to putting in our battery rack. What we have is our battery charger, and next to it we have the plug where we're plugging into the battery charger, and also our safety interlock devices in there. Then you see the shunt up above, fuse arrangements. So let's give a quick little overview of what we have here. And so let's go over to the other side for that. So we're going to start with the negative leg here. You can see this is where it passes through and goes back to the engine bay, where it will go to our controller. So it passes through our shunt and over to our most negative point on our battery pack. It'll go through the pack on the slider that goes out the passenger side, and we'll come to a fuse in the middle of our pack right here, and then it goes through this side of the pack, comes out of this side of the pack right here, goes through another fuse, and from there back to our main disconnect, controller, so forth. Our battery charger is connected here, most positive point in the pack. And our charger on the negative side is connected here. So it goes through the shunt, so that we're monitoring everything that goes into the pack, and everything that comes out of the pack goes through there. So it's our negative most point, and we're able to monitor all the energy in and out of the pack. Now, when installed, these lines that go to the pack will have additional insulation on them. We'll show you that at the time. So these things will run without any chafing or any issues, but they are hanging long looking now because they have to be able to travel from the rack being closed to the rack being extended out here. So let's install our battery rack. This is the view from the driver's side, looking into the treasure chest with the battery rack installed. Now, once the cells are in place, this will be not too visible inside as far as anything else that you can see, because you won't be able to see anything beyond the end of the rack here. There's a little room down the side, and there's quite a bit of room behind the rack, but it's not that easy to access once the rack is in place. That's why we installed everything beforehand. And so now the rack is able to be extended, and there you have it. This pack will weigh 475 pounds, so each side is approximately half of that, and each set of glides is good to 350 pounds per pair, so 700 pounds total. So we have no issues with the little weight that we're dealing with. These things actually slide easier with the battery, cells in place with some weight in it. Quick shot of our power steering motor. This is what's going to power our power steering. That's where the power steering reservoir went when it was gasoline powered. That's its stock position. We're probably going to leave it there. This isn't really a vehicle that's a show vehicle where we want everything to be aesthetically just so. You're only going to be able to see in this little tiny hole in the back here when all is said and done, unless he puts a clear top on there, which I think he intends to use the pickup bed, so that probably won't happen. So power steering is going to fit on the right side of our motor here. Have yet to mount that. We're still designing the mounts and waiting on some parts. Next, this morning, after we kind of clean up a few things here, we're going to change out the clutch components, slave cylinder, master cylinder. Here's the conduit that comes from our outlet in the treasure chest. It's routed. The owner of the vehicle put this tape right here. That's where he wants the charge port. He only has the ability to charge at 110. So that's where it'll go. A little blue tape marks the spot. So our conduit will run back here. It's all going to be a weather-tight setup. Let's take a look at the battery rack from the passenger side here. Again, you can see the charger and everything in place. Lots of clearance between the battery rack and the charger and other components. Our charger line, again in flexible conduit, running back so that it's not going to bounce around and chafe or anything. So anyway, that's it. It just extends for installation and occasional inspection. Make sure all of our interconnects are tight and clean and no issues, but I don't see any in this particular vehicle because it's in a nice enclosed compartment. We're using the Nordlock washers for our interconnects as well as the braided straps. This is going to be a install and go setup. So there we have it. So on to other things. The controller is that mount's being set up. We'll be installing that shortly. It's going to be going right here in this area. It's going to be a little off center. It's going to be up kind of snug here. Like I said, the power steering will be over there. The brakes are here. Somewhere in the very back here we're going to have our service disconnect, so that once you open this compartment you can disconnect the traction pack. Then all of our 12-volt wiring and so forth, our terminal strips, fuse block, relay board, all that's going to be to the right of our controller then, and that'll kind of maybe cover some of that mess right there. So this is the point in the process where it really starts to pick up speed and come together. Once you have the motor in place, battery containment in place, it gets fun and it gets fast. So savor it, don't get in a rush. Think about how you want to route things, how they are interconnected, and you know, the relationship between components and the best way to route things so that it all comes together nice. In this particular setup, we're using the orange cabling for 90% of it. We are running the negative leg, which is just a short leg basically from our battery rack back here to the controller area, and that's in the black. It's not in a spot that anyone will ever, you know, a first responder or anything will be troubled by. We may loom with some orange loom, except for just the ends. But again, it's a very, very short run. We've run excess cabling because it's better to have it not to need it than to need it not to have it. But so we'll check back in when we have more to look at. Stay with us. Well, another little update on the progress on the transporter. And so what we're looking at here is the main service disconnect installed. It's not the finished way it'll be. There will be a cover over it and labeling, but basically that will be in the run position. So forward run, back is off. Again, that's our power brakes, our vacuum pump. So what we have is we have the most positive line coming in from our pack, from the treasure chest area. It comes in to our service disconnect, through the disconnect, and to our main contactor. We'll go through the contactor and to the controller. Being this is our most positive point, there's going to be a couple other things that are going there. We have the lugs there as a reminder, and little taped labels to where each of those go. we banded up and taped the stock vehicle wiring that wasn't going to be used. Things like the connectors that went to the fuel injectors. Instead of cutting all of that out, we've left it and taped it. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing look. And this big tape wads here on two sides. But who knows what the future of this vehicle will be, and so we just wanted to leave that. It could be removed in the future, or it could be used in the future. There's our throttle coming in here through the stock throttle position, throttle cable. We have wiring coming from the front of the vehicle, as well as wiring coming from the treasure chest. This is our shunt wires. This is from our safety interlock, and this is the control for the charger. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have on this side, to the right of the controller, we will have our relay board, which will have our fuse block, terminal strip, so forth. So all that wiring comes out right there behind that board. There's the new clutch slave cylinder that we recently put in. This little bit larger wire here, and there's a black one hanging there also. That is pack voltage that will be running up to the front of the vehicle for both the heater and the DC to DC converter. So all of our wiring runs up the length of the vehicle, following the exact same path as the stock wiring loom. Let's take a look at the where it's coming in up front here. There it is. So our gauges and everything will be here in the center, kind of underneath the radio. That's where all our wiring's coming in. The heater is going in here. So we have rear window defogger, emergency flashers, heater. And then once this is installed, in the top here will be the JLD 404, below will be the Curtis gauge, and then next to it will be a 12 volt gauge. We have run a wire that is switched to 12 volts, and then we have one here that is unswitched to 12 volts. In other words, it comes directly from the battery. And so on our DC power board back here, we'll have both switched and unswitched 12 volts. And we'll give you a little quick preview of the rough layout of that. Well, here we're just kind of laying out what our component arrangement is going to be like. Up here is a emergency disconnect will be in the dash. It's going to be just to the left of the JLD 404, a few inches, and that's, in case of emergency, he can shut things down. Not absolutely necessary, but makes people feel good. So we run it in our vehicles. So that's going to be in the dash. The rest of this is kind of the layout we're working on for the board in the back. The board is 8 by 11. This, of course, is 8.5 by 11. So we're pretty close. We're just kind of getting an idea of the relationship of the components, where the terminal strip can go. This will be our unswitched 12 volts. This is going to be a power relay that will, when the ignition is turned on, will provide power to our fuse block. This is our key switch relay, which turns on the power signal to the controller. This is a diode that's going to protect any backfeed from our main contactor. This is the fuse for our power brakes, and this is for the compressor, or the vacuum pump, I should say, and this is the relay for that. And so then on the power steering, the relay's built in, so we're just going to connect to the fuse block with our 12 volt control line, and then the power is going to run over and connect where we showed you one of the terminals on the main contactor there. So that's kind of how we're roughing it out. We'll do a little more thought as to what needs to go next to what, so we have short wiring runs, and whether or not we've got enough connectors on our terminal strip, whether we need an additional or larger one, whether or not we have enough fuses for what we want to do, so forth. And so that's just kind of the thought process, how this all goes together. Well, just another reminder that EV4U offers a 3-day hands-on conversion workshop. And our last one that's scheduled for 2013 is coming up this next weekend. And so visit ev4unow.com to register. So once again, hope you can make it. Check it out on the web, ev4unow.com. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.